go ahead and download my mobile application. If you have an iPhone, go ahead and download my app called JP Hightek TV right now onto your phone. If you have a TV, a smart TV, my app is also available on your Roku TV, right? Go ahead and download JP Hightek TV on your Roku TV or your Amazon Fire TV right now, and let's connect together, right? I want you to grow with me. I want us to grow together. If you love podcasts, I'm also happy to tell you that the Content Creators University is available syndicated across every podcast platform. Apple Podcasts, Audible, Google Podcasts, you name it, we are there. Spotify and all of that. Go ahead and download it, listen to it, and do me a favor. If you appreciate what we're doing, go ahead and put it in the comment section. Leave me a review on any of those podcast platform or mobile application platform. Let me know if any of the hard work that we're putting into this community, this broadcast, this podcast is helping you. If you appreciate all the amazing guests that we're bringing onto the platform to share their expertise with you. This is a lot of work, family, and I'm doing all this in order for you to be able to grow your business the right way, leveraging content creation. Thanks so much, and if you appreciate what we do, go ahead and as well subscribe to the YouTube channel, JP Hightek Reviews. Follow me personally if you want to, connect with me on all social media, and the handle is @JP Hightek. I love connecting. Like I always say, network is the new currency. So I want to see you online, I want to connect with you, and I want to hear from you. Let's grow together. Be safe, like I always say. See you next time. Shalom. Peace. What's good, family? And welcome to the unique special edition of the Content Creators University. I'm your humble servant, JP. And family, guess what? We are here for a treat today. I'm letting you know this is an amazing show. I'm so excited because our guest, we're about to talk about him in a little bit. I met him in person at a conference in Orlando earlier this year, and we connected. And today we're doing something amazing in order to allow you to master and grow your business leveraging content creation, which is what this is all about. If you're new, well, allow me to introduce myself. My name is JP Hightek, and if you didn't know, I am a global brand and media expert. I apologize if I'm looking to the left. There's a lot going on right now, right? And so I'm checking the backup setups, everything we have for you. My guest is waiting backstage. And of course, let us know in the comment section where you're joining us from. Like I was saying, I'm JP Hightek. This show is the Content Creators University. We do this every single week. The focus here is to allow you to grow your business, leveraging technology and content creation. I'm a, global branding expert. I work with small businesses, individual and, corporation, build a premium brand, leveraging what we're talking about. All right. And so we have a challenge coming up. And so on this challenge, family, Josh Tapp, which is a guest today, will be there with me. 5 days of transformative, tools, tips, tricks, strategies, and solution to allow you to go to the next level with your business, right? One thing I've learned is in order for you to be successful without delay is by learning from folks that have already maybe done what you're trying to do, right? Don't make the mistakes that they've made. Just learn from their mistakes, right? They paid the price, full price, and you're getting the discount. That's what I say. And I'm so excited that we have this conversation today. This gentleman that we're talking about, well, let me go to the side here and read and tell you exactly who I'm talking about, right? His name, like I said, is Josh Tapp. And let me read a little bit from his bio, and then we'll bring him onto the stage here, right? He's the founder of Pantheon, a community of entrepreneurs linking arms. I love that. Linking arms in the fight for entrepreneurial freedom. Josh has successfully leveraged the Pantheon Method to take his podcast, The Lucky Titan, to the top 5 Apple podcasts to generate, over 50 million in revenue and to build and sell 4 B2B companies. Pause right there. You already know he's the real deal, right? I love this gentleman. You're about to find out why in just a little bit, right? His exclusive mastermind, which I'm about to let him know he's late because of that. I'm just kidding. But his exclusive mastermind, the Alliance, has attracted some of the biggest names from across the globe, making Josh the foremost authority on relationship marketing. And we're about to discover what that even means today and how you can leverage that in order to grow your business, right? And he uses that to really establish his authority like he's doing, right? And he shares his methodology with kings, Fortune 500 CEOs, A-list artists, over 1 million entrepreneurs from across the globe. His mission, listen to me, is to rally the world's best humans to solve the world's biggest problems through entrepreneurship. Ladies and gentlemen, it's about to be good today. Without further ado, allow me to bring onto the stage our guest. What's good? What's good? What's good, Josh?
They got me shoved in the corner here. Sorry.
I know. Don't worry. I'll fix you real quick. I mean, there's a lot of. Good man. There we go.
I was like, I'll sit down here. It is my fault. I was running the mastermind. I apologize. You guys are awesome. Very excited to be here.
It's all right, Josh. We forgive you, man. You're the expert today, so we'll take the L on that because we know you're about to make up in everything you're about to share today, and I'm so excited. For the folks that are joining us and are like, "Yo, JP, slow down, man. Let him introduce himself," and stuff like that. Yo, Josh, take it away, man. I'm gonna have you share everything that makes you so amazing. Take it away.
Oh, dude, I love when people actually read the bio because we never do that, and it's fun sometimes to read it, but it's also one of those humility moments where you go, man, I'm just so grateful for the opportunities I've been given, and I'm just here to serve. That's ultimately what I'm here for. The bio is unnecessary, knowing like who I am, what I do is important, but numbers are just kind of a scoreboard. And I always tell people just because you've won once or twice or 3 times, whatever it is, still got to do it again. Got to play the game. Right. So very excited to serve your audience here. Very excited about the challenge. Can't wait to see what we can all accomplish together. So let's get it done.
Of course, man. Of course. This is about to be fun. But when I told folks that I was bringing you over and what you've achieved, which come on, man, is impressive. All right, we got to say that it's impressive what you've done. Right, and there's several people that want to do similar. Right. And my community of folks that are, leaders, CEOs and small business owners, people that are serious about growing their business. And so the thing is, they're like, yo, what am I missing that, Josh did? And so we want to dive into your story today. Right. We want to learn exactly how. Take us back. How did the whole thing started? Like, I want to know, man, what got you into entrepreneurship?
So honestly, if you want to go clear back, I keep this book on my desk for this reason. So I was 11 years old, and my father came to me and says, Josh, I will pay you $10 for every book you read that is a business related or personal development related book. I'll pay you for it. And then I will, if you just report on it to me. And ultimately, like looking back, because I'm one of 8 kids, he did this for all of us, but I think he knew it was like, he's like, Josh is going to take ownership of this. So I was a conniving little kid. I'm not going to lie to you. So my dad says this and I go, and then I'm going to report it to him. And it was this book, okay? Richest Man in Babylon, if you've ever read this book. One of my all-time favorite books still. It's this exact copy. Actually, my mother sent this to me about a year ago. And I didn't know she still had it. So I was so glad that I'm like, hey, this is the exact one. I'm going to frame this one day. I'll put it behind me. But that book, 21 years at that point, or excuse me, 21. For 10 years till I was 21. And 10 years later, I'd run a couple small local companies, done some yard business, some window washing companies, kind of the atypical play, if that makes sense. And
right.
When I decided, hey, I want to be an actual entrepreneur, I want to step out and start a real company, actually get a business license, I said, that's going to be my main focus, is to find a business that I know that I could reasonably scale and ultimately sell for a large chunk of money. Because, anyways, that's kind of like where the journey began, right? Was realizing, oh man, I love entrepreneurship. I tried a bunch of things, but then when I found this online space, I'm like, oh man, this could be kind of the freedom creator, where it's not just about generating revenue, but about generating that freedom and the calling and everything. So it's a very, very condensed version, trying to be brief for you, but
right.
That's ultimately kind of the beginning of everything that we did.
Wow. And it's interesting that you pretty much started with the end in mind, right? Because most folks do not start like that, right? Like you were intentional on, okay, this is potentially the type of exit I may want for myself as I'm starting this. Could you tell us why that was important to you, and how did that help?
Yeah. So let me just caveat this by saying this wasn't a Josh idea. This came through mentorship. I mean, a lot of mentors who came to me and said, Josh, there's a reason why you've been having a hard time making a ton of money. So I from all standards, I was a successful teenager, because I wasn't doing drugs. I really wasn't even playing sports that much. I played football, but I wasn't any good at it. I was actually out there building businesses. I was trying to make money, because I grew up very, very poor. So the fact that my dad was willing to even pay me to read books was a huge blessing. But I ultimately was led to different mentors through those different businesses, but each of them, I was building them just to make money instead of focusing on A, leaving a legacy, but B, building something that could actually outlast me. And I had a mentor come to me. This is back in 2015. And he said, Josh, I was 21 at the time. He says, Josh, again, like you said, you totally picked up on this, JP, but begin with the end in mind, which I think is kind of like a cheesy phrase, but one of the most true statements that you could ever realize. And what's interesting is when I realized this for myself, I started to think about my business as a product of how can I build the coolest product that somebody worth millions or hundreds of millions or billions of dollars would say, I'll pay you millions of dollars for that product. And it made me shift the way that I thought about it, because it wasn't about just getting individual clients. It was about building something that was so attractive and so powerful that somebody with a lot of money and a lot of influence would go, I could buy that, right? That's a product worth buying. And when you actually shift the way you do that, you'll actually shift the way that you run companies as well. And not to say that I ran them all perfectly, right? We've had 7 different companies. 2 of them I ran completely into the ground, and 4 of them I was able to sell. This being my 7th, the Pantheon, lucky number 7. It's probably going to be my lifetime project. But we've still built this business with the exit in mind, knowing, hey, if I were to die tomorrow, or heaven forbid, I was crippled, right? And my wife needed me to, or I had to stay home or something, right? Because I was crippled and I couldn't perform or anything. I would want to have the ability to hand this off to somebody else and let the legacy continue, especially because my clients deserve that, right? The people in my world, they don't deserve a business where if I get bored or I die, they don't get the result that they want, right? And so ultimately, building businesses to me has become about how do I provide an unreal experience to people to where they feel like, man, I could, pardon the French here, but follow this guy to the gates of hell, right? And when you do that with your clients, they'll stick with you forever. They'll keep paying you, but they will evangelize you like it's going out of style, because they'll go, man, this person genuinely cares about getting me a result. And I think, just to kind of end this spiel here for you, I would say that for most people, if they're truly honest with themselves while they're running a business, they're probably running it just thinking about getting the next client instead of thinking about how do I, for the people who've already paid me, for the people in my world, how do I make this an unbelievable result? It's something where they'll go, I never would have thought this was possible. And if you can provide that level of success to people, it's game over. You'll win.
Wow. It's really inspiring, what you're saying. But hey, family, you guys know how we do it, right? Here's the expert. And so Professor Tapp in the house today. We're about to get every single thing we can out of you today. Because, that's the thing, right? We have a challenge, and people are like, a challenge? I don't know about that, right? But at the same time, when people read the things you've accomplished, and people go to so many other events, they get bored with a whole bunch of, You know what I mean, right? Speeches and things like that.
Strategy.
Like, okay, I know, right? You're like, okay, come on, give me a break here. Another one coming out of the woodworks, and he wants to teach me how to transform my life. So, Josh, let's be real here, all right? We got real problems, real solutions. Let's try to get some things out of you. I am a person, for example. If I am a person, I have a podcast. How did you? Because one thing I put, right? And people like, how on earth would you say he did it without social media? So I want us to pivot there real quick. Yep. You haven't met you in person, haven't spent several hours with you, haven't chatted and laughed and did a whole bunch of stuff and together with you. I know. But for the folks that are watching this skeptical, which is okay, there's nothing wrong with that. How on earth can you make just such a statement? It's not a statement. You did it. You didn't use social media. What happened? Can you share with the folks what exactly did you do that was magic?
So I'm going to caveat this by saying I tried social media many, many times. And not that social media doesn't work, but it is the ultimate crutch to our generation of entrepreneurs. Is we think, oh, there's millions of people sitting there. And the answer is yes. But are you going to be the one that directly affects them and draws them away from the entertainment and into changing their life? And I'm almost exclusively talking about business to business, right? If you're working with businesses, this does work direct to consumer or launching a podcast, anything where you're trying to rally people, this works, okay? Mm-hmm. But it is going to be one of the most unpopular opinions, okay? Because I tell people, turn off your social media. Like, don't even post for years. Just give up on it for now. And people go, oh, but Josh, what about this? Gary Vaynerchuk, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay. I've met these guys. They're amazing people and they're not wrong, right? But it's becoming a more and more competitive market to leverage social media to accomplish the means of growing a business. So what I tell people is, and this is, I'm going to give you kind of the firsthand strategy, and I'll put it in context of a podcast, but this exact same thing works with producing sales. Okay. Mm-hmm. There's a strategy that I give anybody if they're going, okay, how do I grow a show? My first thing is say, why do you want millions of listeners? Well, reach, I'm going to make lots of money. No, you're not. Okay. Getting millions of listens on a podcast will not make you money. Okay. You could sell sponsorship. You could, sell your own products and services. There's a lot of ways you could leverage that audience to make money, but the audience from a podcast is actually not a buying audience. And I don't care what anybody says about this. I'm actively involved in the podcast community and people shun me for saying this, but people who listen to podcasts come to podcasts to be educated. They do not come to podcasts to buy. And I'm talking in a business environment. If they come to a true crime show, it's for entertainment. Okay. But if you're doing this for a business, they are coming to be educated. They are not coming to buy. Again, there's always an exception to the rule. You are not the exception. I'm just going to say it. But some people are able to leverage the podcast to generate significant revenue from those massive numbers. But what I tell people is focus first on one listener. Okay. So this is our strategy. What I tell people to do is say, who is the dream listener? Somebody who would listen to the show. They would buy from you. They would evangelize you. They would go out and post about you. They do everything you ask them to do because they go, this person is going to change my life, or this piece of information was so valuable, everybody else needs to know this. Okay. What we do is we ask that person to come be the first guest on our podcast, or the next guest on our podcast. Okay. We're going to interview them. We're going to get the best information the way you're doing right now, JP, right? Getting my best information, right? But then you're going to ask your guest, hey, what problems do you have? Well, I'm trying to come up with new content for the show. What would you really like to know the answer for? What's the big problem you're trying to find a solution to right now? And when you ask that question, believe it or not, everybody will give you a pretty direct answer. They're going to say, oh man, my team, oh, sales, oh, marketing, oh, whatever, right? And they're like, man, it's hard. Or, oh, I'm launching this event. I'm super excited about it, but I don't really know how to fill it, or whatever it is, right? Then it is then my job, because they've told me this. So let's just say they said, Josh, lead generation is the hardest thing for me to do right now. I'm having such a hard time generating leads. I would say, okay, cool. I could probably answer that question because I am uniquely qualified on generating leads, but I'd be remiss to just spew the answer on a podcast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, who is the best person on the planet for answering this question for my previous guest. Okay. So I'm just going to pretend, JP, I brought you on. I ask you that question at the end of it. And you're like, oh, I need more leads. And I'd say, okay, killer. I'm going to bring on this guy named Dan Posner. He's like the guy I recommend to everybody to go do lead generation. He's brilliant. So Dan, I'm going to bring Dan on, and he and I are going to have a conversation, but we're going to talk about you, JP. We're going to say, okay, JP, my last guest, was telling me this has been an issue with his business. Dan, let's build him a strategy together. Let's talk on how he could solve this problem. And we are going to actively almost consult you on this call. Does that make sense, JP?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Follow?
Oh yeah. Okay. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that you catch it. And the momentum will pick up here in a second. You're going, Josh, this is going to take forever. I've seen guys do this and go from 0 to 10,000 downloads in 7 days. Okay. Just putting that out there. What you'll do is I'm going to interview Dan. Dan and I are going to produce this great piece of content. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to publish it, and I am going to text it to JP. I don't even care if it goes on iTunes. Who cares? I'm going to text JP and say, JP, we answered your question, dude. And you're going to go, oh, awesome. You're going to listen to it. And then I'm going to text you and say, what did you think about it? We're going to have a conversation about it. You're probably going to say, well, what about this? What about that? And you're going to be presenting me with other problems that you're looking for the answer to. Yes? But this is what I just did. I just bought the loyalty of JP with an hour of my time. Okay. JP goes, oh man, Josh actually took the time. He went out, researched a guy, found the best guy on the planet, answered my question, called me out, shouted out my business, and then sent me the episode. Who does that? Nobody does that. Okay. People in the Pantheon do that. That's what I'm just going to say. Because I talk about this all the time. Anyways, but then I'm not going to stop there. I now had Dan on my show, and I'm going to repeat the process with Dan. What problems do you have? Oh, okay, awesome. And then my goal is just to find the next guest to answer the previous guest's questions. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Here's what's awesome about this. I have found that when you do this, every person that you do this for and you send them, the JP in this situation, JP is going to go out and share it. He's going to talk about me. I've literally bought at least some time on his lips. Yes? That sounds really dirty. Mm-hmm. But you get the point. Yes. Mm-hmm. So JP's going to be out there evangelizing me, and I'm basically renting JP by providing, because he's going to go, this was a really good piece of content, right?
Right.
Now, granted, you have to produce a good piece of content. Just going to put that out there. This is where somebody like JP comes into play.
That's why you need to come to the challenge.
Yeah, that's what the challenge is for. But you got to produce a great piece of content. But the way you do that is actually not always the way it looks. Like JP's setup here is baller. I mean, this is like A grade level content that JP produces. And if you want to become like the next level, you absolutely need this. But if you're like, dude, I have zero cash, it doesn't matter what it looks like. It matters what you're talking about. And it has to be an answer to one person's question, because if one person has the question, 1 million people have that question. And what I tell people is, if you'll implement that process and you commit to do that 100 times, you will at least hit 10,000 listens to your show, and you will make at least $1 million. Okay. That I don't think people really truly understand that if you repeat that process and you're answering people's questions, you literally become the catalyst in your community. You'll become the most known person, and not because you're posting on social and you're this really fancy person, but you're their ally. They're going to call you up and say, Josh, who do you know for this? Literally, my phone's not sitting next to me. I could pull up a message literally from this morning of a guy I haven't talked to in a year. Okay. And he texts me, of all people, he's probably met thousands of people in the last year, texts me and says, Josh, I need help producing my podcast. I got a couple of issues with this and this content. Who should I hire? Come on. Ooh. That's what everybody wants. Are you kidding me right now?
Listen, stop, because you're giving, I need people to realize what you're giving them right now. This is a play that will guarantee you to grow your podcast organically, which is something that most 99.9% of podcast hosts or creators are looking for, which is how to organically grow and monetize their podcast, right? And this is a play that always works. Why am I saying that? Because I also grew my podcast, right? I also made 6+ figures in 5 months with my podcast. And now you're listening to another expert telling you, giving you a strategy on how to really grow and make money. And that's the thing, right? I'm about to let you continue here. But
That's good.
somebody heard you say something, right? Today, I want them listening, just if they didn't come to the challenge, just this podcast, I want them to be able to go and, apply the things we're talking about today and start seeing the transformation in their business. Cool?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. So here's the thing. Somebody heard you say, right, okay, if you do this, you can make $1 million. Are you just saying that, or can you really make that?
Can I answer this question? We
seriously.
have hundreds of people in our community who have done that. Okay. What I can tell you is people who look at business again as a one-to-many approach, which sounds fantastic, but if you just focus on the one, they will bring you the many. Okay. I want to emphasize this because some of you are going, okay, but where does that equate money? Okay. What a lot of people don't think about with business is that in order to generate money, you just need a vehicle that will even $1.01 out. It doesn't even have to be put in $1, pull $2. Okay. That is all business is. Can you put in $1, pull $2 out? You're beyond winning. Okay. If you think about business that way and you think about, okay, how do I have a vehicle that could do that if I don't have a ton of revenue to drive this, right? Because a lot of people listening to the show and listening to my show, what I found is most of them are coming at it going, I don't have money to put into ads. I don't have money to put into high-level production, everything else. And I go, wrong. You do, you just don't have it yet. Mm-hmm. Okay. So the vehicle I recommend everybody leverage is the one I just prescribed. One person, and interview them, make a new piece of content, send it to them, and just keep leapfrogging, doing this process. But as you are listening to their problems, after you've sent them a piece of content suggesting a solution, guess what else you can do? You can provide them with a financial way to do that solution, right? So in this case, if JP is like, dude, I need help with lead gen, and I'm like, oh, Dan's awesome. Here's a great piece of content. And I'll say, JP, go hire Dan. He's actually extremely cost effective for how good he is, by the way. Just you're welcome, Dan. He's not paying me to say this. But Dan's like one of the best players in the world at lead generation, and he's super cost effective. So JP might be like, dude, I've got a little bit of money I could put in this. I say, great, you go hire Dan. Guess what? Dan's going to kick me a commission. Okay. Okay. What do I do with that commission check? Maybe it's only $500. Maybe it's 50,000. We don't know, right? Truthfully, the faster you do this, the more money you're going to make with it. But if it's $500, I could take that and I could eat it, right? Pay my bills, whatever. Or I could say, hey, that's sacred money. What am I going to use that for? I'm going to take that and roll that into someone like JP. Probably can't afford JP for $500. I don't know what your prices are, but for the level of production, it's probably not 500. So, but let's just imagine you had $2,000, $3,000, and you could come to somebody like JP and say, dude, make me look way better. And he'll say, killer, dude, I'll do it. Bam. You pay him. He's the best in the world at producing A-grade content, right? You could hire JP. And I'm going to tell you this right now, because I don't know JP's price, but I can tell you that you can hire the best player in any marketing capacity, any sales capacity for under $50,000, 50. And some people think, oh, that's a lot of money. It's not if you run the play. If you keep running the play, right? Stockpile your cash, make it sacred money that you don't touch. That's money that you're going to leverage into someone like JP. Or let's put it this way. If you're like, dude, I don't want to have to refer people everywhere, just become the solution to their problems. JP told me, dude, I have a lead gen problem. And I'm like, I'm pretty good at that. I got you to come on my show. That's a lead, right? And so I could show you the same process. Yeah. And then I say, here's how I do it. And I could sell you on the service. Is that making sense?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. Yep.
Like, because I think people completely disregard the fact that business is literally just providing a solution to a problem. You were reading in my bio. It's funny that it's there actually, but it should be because it's all I ever talk about. But the bigger the problem you solve, the more money you're going to make. Right. And so
repeat that, please. Repeat that.
The bigger the problem you solve, the more money you're going to make. Okay. Let me give you an example. I started the Pantheon originally as a community to help people build joint venture partnerships. Okay. Mm-hmm. Between you and me, that was almost 10 years ago, and it is still the exact same thing. Okay. But it's been through, we're teaching joint venture partnerships. But what I realized is that broke person starting a business, $97 a month for them was actually a lot of money. And I get that. I've been there, man. $100 sales. Like sometimes you're like, that's the hardest first dollars you're going to spend, or the first $100 you spend. But I could solve that exact same problem for somebody with a lot of money, because it's a bigger problem for them. They're like, dude, I need a joint venture deal spun up that could make me $1 million. I could go to them and say, well, give me $100,000 and I'll help you do that. Mm-hmm. Right? It's the same solution to the same problem, but Joe Schmo over here, who has more money, is going to pay me more for that. I'll give you just a crystal clear example of this. I was literally offering the Pantheon for $97 a month. Okay. People were coming to the community. It was amazing. Through that, some random guy, I'm not going to share his name to preserve his anonymity. This guy was a multiple times Fortune 500 CEO, had retired, exited for $2 billion. Okay. Meet somebody in my group. They gave him my number. He reaches out to me and says, hey, I need to know how to do this system. I need to know how to generate these high level referral partnerships that you help people do. And I was like, okay, sweet. I don't usually do a lot of one-on-one. He's like, well, what'll it take? And I said, $50,000 for a day. I didn't think he'd take me up on it. And he said, sure. So he paid me $50,000, flew me out for a day. We had an amazing experience. And then he ended up hiring me on retainer for multiple six figures. Okay. And that is I'm literally like, I'm going from my training at $97, which I just taught something for an hour. And I'm going to this guy's house and saying the exact same thing. And he's paying me thousands of times what these people are paying me. Correct? Can I follow in the logic 100%. There? So it's like the bigger the problem and the bigger the player, the more cash that you're going to generate.
Absolutely.
So like if you're trying to monetize a podcast, grow an audience, start with money first. Okay. My podcast, we were at our peak, we were doing about 1 million downloads a month. Okay. The way I got there is I went 1 to 1 to 1 to 1 to 1 to 1 for 1,000 reps. Okay. I interviewed 1,000 people in a year. It was a lot of work. I'm not going to lie to you, but
oh yeah, it is.
I did it for a year. Right. But this is what was interesting. In that year, I had my best revenue year yet. It was multiple millions of dollars. Okay. But what I was able to accomplish there is that multiple millions of dollars allowed me to then go out and pay the best in the world to promote my podcast. I could pay them $250,000 because I'm like, hey, I need to get in front of 1 million people a month. And you're going to go, sweet, let's do it, Josh. I could give that money to JP. He could probably figure out how to make 250,000 turn it into 1 million followers. Yeah.
Dude's and see, that's the thing, right? That's the thing. What you're saying is so life transformative that I'm hounding on this because I want somebody watching this. I want somebody's life to be transformed and their mind to go like, whoa, I just landed on the gold mine. And even if they don't show up at the challenge, take this and really see a transformation in their business for the rest of their lives, right? And what you're saying is so real at so many levels because this is how people make a lot of money. If you think about it, family, you don't need necessarily to be the person to know how to do everything. You just need to be the one that knows how to find the right person to do the job. If you can do that, you will not only develop trust, you will establish respect and a long-lasting relationship where people will keep coming to you. And the people you're sending them to just got to have integrity. Because trust me, if I know you're sending me clients, right? If I'm the vendor and I know you're sending me clients that are paying me, right? Top ticket, high ticket. I want more of that. Trust me, that vendor wants more of that. So if all it will take is me giving you a cut, whatever the agreement is, for you to keep doing that, as long as somebody is looking for what I do, they will do that over and over and over. Hopefully you're watching this or listening to this, you understand what we're saying. So Josh, you've established and built pretty much organically, right? A business, a thriving, successful business doing or, adopting this method. But in your bio, it says something though. It says right there that you sold something to make money. You sold your company. So, and earlier I strategically asked about the exit that you mentioned, right, at the beginning when you're building it. So I'm going to go back there, right? I'm going to go back there because here's somebody listening to this and like, whoa. All right, so all it takes is doing this, staying committed, and answering people's hardest questions, bringing in those experts, and then I'm going to grow my business. I have 2 questions there. One, somebody will tell you, how do I find them, right? 2, another person will be like, all right, how did you end up selling your company? So let's start with the first question. How do you even find those experts or those people? How did you do it? And how can we learn from there? And then we'll talk about the second one.
So finding an expert is actually way easier than you might think. We have this magical tool called Google. Okay. Okay. And I literally Google world's best marketing agency. Do it. Go look up what it is. I wish I was that freaking result on that page. I am not. But this is the point. Okay. Start there. Okay. Or look within your connections. And what I have found, bring people onto your podcast or interview them in some fashion. If you don't have a podcast, it could be like, I'm going to write an article. I need to interview 10 marketers about blah, blah, blah. And I'll give them attribution in the article. It does not matter what the medium is. Okay. But if you'll interview if you'll reach out to them, on LinkedIn, I have found that if you'll even cold outreach to these people, inviting them onto a show, we have a 40% response rate. 40% of people saying, yes, I want to come on your show. 40, not 14. Okay. 40% of them will say yes. So let me put this into perspective for you. If you're trying to find the world's best lead generation agency, okay, A, Google it. B, find them on LinkedIn. So search it on LinkedIn, marketing agency or whatnot. Interview 10 of them and ask all of them, who is your mentor? Who taught you how to do what you do? All of them have one. There's not a single person on this planet who just self-taught and figured everything out on their own. Okay. But not a single one. But what I found is if you ask for their mentor and you ask for an introduction, they are excited to make that introduction because they're going, I'm going to make my mentor look so good because I'm going to put him on Josh's stage and blah, 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 right? Like they're feeling excited about it. They'll introduce me to their mentor and I'll say, great, who was your mentor? And I do that until their mentor was somebody who's dead. Okay. Does that make sense? You go until they're like, oh yeah. I'm trying to think of like a famous marketer who's dead. Winston Churchill, right? Winston Churchill was my mentor. Totally impossible, but you get the point. So we're going until they don't have one or that mentor has passed. That person is the best in the world. Okay. That's the first thing. That's the easiest way to get in the door with them is to provide them a stage opportunity. I'm going to issue you guys a challenge. Okay. If you're listening to this show, even if you don't show up to this summit, this challenge, this is going to be a tidbit that if you will just make this courageous decision and go do this, it will change your life. Okay. I want you to put together a list of 10 people that you're like, there's no way on this planet that these people would ever give me time of day. Okay. I want you to connect with them on LinkedIn and send this one message. I have an audience of blank. So let's say reaching out to Tony Robbins. Hey, Tony, I have an audience of blank, high-performing leaders who would love to learn about blank being Tony's topic. Okay. Would love to learn about neurolinguistic programming. I would be honored if you would come on my podcast or if you'd be willing to come on my show. Okay. It's that simple of a message. I want you to send that to 10 people. And I'm going to caveat this by saying, don't go for the Tony Robbins types who are going to get a million messages like this. Okay. Look for somebody who's kind of obscure, but is like the go-to person in this realm. Okay. In fact, you know who Dr. Peter Attia is?
No.
So most people don't, but go watch there's a documentary on Disney Plus that Chris Hemsworth did called Limitless. Dr. Peter Attia is one of the foremost. Yeah. So Dr. Peter Attia is the doctor he's being consulted by. Okay. So this guy is like the foremost expert on this stuff. Okay. I'm fat right now. Okay. I'm very heavy for my weight right now, for my size right now. I've been trying to work through a few things on my weight. So I went, okay, how can I decrease my weight? What am I going to do? Yeah, I could go like Google it and everything else. Or I was like, why don't I talk to the best on the freaking planet? So I reached out to Dr. Peter Attia on LinkedIn. Okay. He didn't respond, but his team said, well, I mean, he doesn't take a lot of shows, but what have you got? And I said, well, we're doing our best. I didn't even tote stats. I just said, hey, my audience is really interested in this. I have genuine interest in answering these 4 or 5 questions about weight loss. And they responded back, took about 2 days. They responded back and said, hey, he's available in 6 months. Okay. I said, that's fine. And he's going to be coming on my show in 6 months. It's like 5 months from now. Right. But this is what a lot of people don't understand, is that if you'll do that 10 times, you will get at least 1. I promise you'll get at least 1, and it will probably be 4. And those people are going to elevate your network. You're going to ascend the quote unquote chain faster than having to build a $10 million company to get even on their radar for a 5-minute meeting. Okay. You literally, in a free way, this costs $0. You don't have to have any tools for this. LinkedIn, free LinkedIn account. You can leverage that to get in the door with 1 or 2 of these players. And those people have a network of other big players. That's all it takes. Once you elevate and you don't try to pitch them something, but you just ask them, what are your problems? How can I present a solution to you? If you'll do that, those people will love you forever, and they'll keep sending you the best players. This is how we've gotten in the door with some of the biggest players out there, because it's not because I can tote numbers. If somebody asks me before they'll come on my show, I say, hey, we're probably not the show for you, even though they just turned down a top 5 podcast. Okay. That's what's woe on them, is all I have to say. Right. So
right.
that's how we get in the door. Okay. So that, hopefully that answers your first question. I try to make it as simple as possible, but sometimes tactically people have to understand. So.
It does. And thank you for that, because it does give a clarity on exactly where to go, how to approach it, in order to even, start bringing relevant guests onto your podcast, because that matters as well to the growth of your podcast, because the value that's been delivered is truly what's going to keep people and keep your podcast growing. So hopefully the folks took note on that. And so now, you did all of this. You were able to grow your podcast, and it became very popular, established that top 5 on Apple Podcasts. And now you are able to sell your company. So how did you go by doing that? And what was the, main thing that allowed you to really sell it for top dollar? Was it the podcast? Was it the revenue you were making through your business? What was that? Share a little bit with the folks that are, interested in doing similar things.
Yeah. So hopefully from this conversation, people are looking at this going, okay, who would even buy my company? Right? If you're a coach in particular, I don't know how many coaches you have listening to this show, but if you're a coach, most coaches think that their business isn't saleable, but it is. Attention in a community is worth so much money. Okay. First and foremost, the new currency of today's realm is eyeballs. It's attention, right? And I'm actually, let me rephrase that. The currency is the hearts. It's not the eyeballs. So if you have earned somebody's trust and their love, and then you sell your company to somebody who also has similar values and the mission that you have, that will translate just fine, even as a coach. Okay. But when people ask me a lot of times, like, how do you sell the company? Okay. This is a big rabbit hole, but I want you to understand, selling your business is the fastest way to make $1 million. Okay. But this is what people look for when they're buying companies. Okay. They are looking for buying something that is already producing money. It's not going to be a money pit for them. It has a list of people who are contracted to give them money, and they're looking for the list. That's all they want. They want the data. Okay. If you are starting a new business and you want to sell for $1 million, this is the simple formula. Okay. Your goal is to get clients paying you $5,000 a month, which for some people might be like, oh, that's so much money. Okay. It's not. If you're selling agency services or coaching or consulting, the goal is $5,000 a month. Okay.
That's very, very, very small.
It's tiny for agency services. Okay. Right. Your goal, this is how you make $1 million. Your goal is to get 10 clients paying you $5,000 a month, which, if you can do the math on that, is $600,000 a year in revenue. Okay. That's goal number 1, 10 clients at $5,000 a month. That's doable, right? That's selling 1 client every 6 weeks, basically, right? Every 5 weeks, basically. Okay. Then the second goal is to be able to deliver that service to these people for less than $1,000 a month per person. Okay. That difference, so there you're making 5 and it's costing you 1,000 to do it. You have $4,000 in what's called profit. Yes. Mm-hmm. I know it sounds like I'm teaching an elementary school class on this. Okay.
Yes.
If you spend 1,000 and you're making 5, there's $4,000 profit. Basic math. Okay. Mm-hmm. If you have $4,000 coming in per client times 10 clients, that means you're making $400,000 to $500,000. Okay. If you want to sell your company and give somebody the best deal of their life, what they're going to look at is what's called EBITDA, which basically just means profitability. And I know people are going to fight me on this, but it's profitability. Okay. If I am contracted for the next year with 10 people paying me $5,000 a month and I'm keeping 4,000 of that, let's just say it's roughly $400,000 or let's do $500,000. It's basically $500,000. If I have $500,000 in profitability, I could actually sell that company for 4 times that $500,000. Okay. But here's the thing. Everybody selling their company is presenting this product, this business as, well, it's the best business on the planet. Like, I'm super good at what I do. Right. If you ever try to buy a business, by the way, most cocky humans ever are people selling their businesses because they're going, dude, my company's worth like 45x. I'm like, you're in debt, dude. Like, you're worth zero. But the point here is that $500,000 profitability. If you went out and you said, hey, I am going to sell this to somebody who meets these values for 2x EBITDA, they are going to buy you up in weeks. Okay. I know this for a fact because one of our clients, he joined my program. Didn't even know he wanted to sell his business, but we talked through it. He'd been running this business and he was making around $500,000 profitability. And he's like, dude, I just want out. He's like, I'm so done with this agency. I've been doing it for 10 years. And I said, why don't we just go sell? He's like, I would walk away from it right now. And I'm like, well, why don't you walk away from it for $1 million? And he's like, I can do that. I brought him a bigger agency. That bigger agency offered him 3x, by the way. We didn't have to go all the way down to 2x. And he sold that for $1.5 million, right? 3 weeks is all it took to sell that business. And let me put this out there for you. Only 1 out of every 13 businesses ever sells. The other 12 just close their doors. Isn't that sickening? Wow. And it's because they're not thinking about their business as a product. Because if I were to go to you right now, JP, and I said, hey, I have this golden goose, okay? It's bleeding a little bit, could be dead in the next like 3 months, but he might kick off a few golden eggs for you before he dies. How much would you be willing to pay me? You're going to go, well, freaking zero. And I'm like, okay, obviously you wouldn't buy my company. But if I came to you and said, JP, here's the deal. I have this golden goose. For the next year, you have a guarantee of making $500,000 for the next year. And these clients are very likely going to stick because they really love what we're doing. Mm-hmm, yes. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Or this golden goose is going to keep making, I could deviate from the, from the metaphor there, but this golden goose is going to make it's going to lay a golden egg every day for the rest of the year at least. You're going to go, okay, well, if I just kept feeding the goose and maybe I got better feed and maybe if I put it in like a nicer place, maybe it'll lay 2 golden eggs every single day, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to buy that thing up in 2 seconds, right? You'd pay exorbitant amount of money for that. And people just don't think about that. You're like, that's what they want. Like I will buy a company right now. If somebody could come to me and say, Josh, I have a business producing $500,000 on autopilot. I literally run the company in 10 hours a week, right? I have somebody else taking care of all fulfillment for me, but I make $500,000. I would pay like $5 million for that company right now because I know as long as I could bring that on and put an operator in place, it's just going to keep running forever. It's the golden goose keeps giving me the golden eggs. So the reason I'm going down this metaphor with you guys is that if you've never even thought about selling your company, think again. Because it'll help you actually structure the way you run your business so that you are actually going to keep more of your money. Because honestly, if you're making $500,000 a year and you're working 10 hours a week, why are you going to sell the thing? That's $500,000 a year. That's just going to keep kicking you out money, right? Mm-hmm. To me, I'm like, this is why we build that way because you're going to probably go, I'm not going to sell this. I'm going to keep it going. I don't even have to grow it. It's just going to keep making me money. I could start another business on the side or I could retire or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And in theory, that sounds like, oh, it's super complicated. But guys, it's 10 clients. It's 10 human beings. And I promise you, if you were to any business that's out there, if you were to look and go, okay, 10 human beings who have the same problem: marketing, sales, fulfillment, or personal development, leadership, or something. It's really not rocket science. It's super basic math. And when you understand that, you'll start building your company in a way that's like, hey, okay, I can't have 10 hats. I have to have one hat, because when I sell this off to them, I don't want to give them a problem. I don't want to give them a bleeding goose. And when I sell this, I want them to be able to just replace me with one person and keep it running.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Right. Yes. And you see, this, I love it, by the way. I love how you're breaking everything down just to make it, digestible for the folks that are listening or watching this, so they can implement it and, not be confused. That's amazing. And so, of course, there are a couple of things that come, surfaces, right? Is understanding actually how to have an irresistible offer, because
yep.
You got to know how to do that, which we cannot teach here. But I know we were about to talk about that during the challenge, right? And so we got to be able to have or build our company so that it truly offers the value that we promised, right?
Yep.
And so as creators, we want to have this podcast, but we really didn't know that the actual podcast is a lead magnet or an income generation machine. And now you just explain what that is. Now, for the folks that are coming and like, you know what, now I'm ready. I really want to learn more, dive deeper into all the things we're talking about, and truly get into the challenge and learn. What can you tell the folks that are excited to come, or what can they expect out of this challenge? Take it away. I want you to let them know, please.
Yeah. Well, I am excited about this because, guys, when JP approached me about doing this challenge, I was like, because I do a lot of events. A lot of people hit me up to do events with them, and I always say no, truthfully. But JP and I hung out again in Orlando. We had a blast. It was a good time. So I was like, first off, I could just hang out with JP all day. So that makes a good partner. But second off, the content that we're going to be producing here for you guys is literally going to be game-changing content for you. And I'm going to put it to you this way. I am the kind of person where I don't hide anything. I'm not going to be like, I'm going to give you 90% of the model and then go figure it out. But in order to get the last 10%, you got to pay me. Okay. JP, and this is why I'm going to partner with JP on this, is because JP is the same way. We're going to literally give you everything you need to succeed, 100% of it. There's nothing going to be held back. Okay. We're going to be diving into your offers, into your content, into structuring your business, into how to sell it, how to market it, everything that you're going to need to do to actually run the play we've just talked about today and more is literally what we're going to be covering in this event. And I honestly can't wait to teach it in this capacity, because instead of just coming and listening to a podcast and kind of like dabbling, quote unquote, and not to bash on podcasting, because obviously I'm a podcaster too, but if you just dabble and consume little bits of information, you're basically getting pieces to a puzzle and nobody's like helping you put them together. And what we're going to be doing on this during this challenge is literally, we're going to be taking the pieces of information, we're going to reteach it so it's crystal clear, so you don't feel like anything's lost. And we're going to help you put the pieces together so you can leave with a plan that you can go run. There's literally going to be, truthfully, I actually have an exercise we're going to do on there to help you make at least $10,000 within 30 days of using this experiment. But basically, it's a very simple process that we can help you guys to do to generate revenue and to build a business system that's literally going to be a game changer for you guys. So honestly, cannot wait to have you all there. I would love to see as many people as possible at this event, because it's going to change lives.
You heard it from the man, right? It's going to change lives. I mean, you guys are tired of hearing me, so I mean, it's time to bring somebody else, that's successful, that knows what he's talking about, and so that we can really give you guys the best of the best that we can deliver. And so, Josh, we've gone to the end. That's why earlier when he was speaking, I looked up and I'm like, oh snap. The time flew by. I mean, see, that's the problem with podcasts, man. You really don't have enough time to give all the play that you want. If not, we'll be here for 5 hours? We can't do that.
Right. Yeah. My wife would probably kill me if I did that. So,
but no, this is pretty cool. Cool stuff. Outside of that, I can't let you go without you sharing with the folks. For the folks that are like, yo, I want to connect with him. What do you have? What are your offers? Or, what can people jump on right now if they want to connect with you business-wise or whatever? Let them know. Share with the folks, please.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, honestly, guys, the best way to connect with me, and nobody ever does this, so I'm going to do it for you. Found my phone, by the way. It's just sitting next to a bunch of remotes. Didn't look like a phone. I'm going to give you my personal number. Okay. I want you guys to write this down. It's 208-206-4652. Okay. Feel free to text me. Please don't just like bombard me with calls. People call me sometimes. I never answer my phone. I'll be completely honest with you. I always text though. If you text me and you say, Josh, what are my next steps? A, I'm going to tell you, come to the event first and foremost. Creators Unleashed Live. Come on, guys. Game changer. But the reason I give out my number is because if you're saying, Josh, I need to learn more about this, bring me onto a show. Okay. Invite me to come in. I will do an hour with you and I will give you literally any question you want to ask. I will share the answer. I literally hold nothing. I have people talk to me about very, very personal details of my life. I'm totally an open book. Okay. But ultimately what I'm doing, and the reason I give my number away to everybody is because we are rallying entrepreneurs. That's the big goal of what we do. So the Pantheon in and of itself is a gathering of entrepreneurs. And we are, like it says in my bio, linking arms. Okay. We're building together and ultimately building a marketplace of B2B service providers who cross-refer each other so that there's no confusion about who is the best out there, where you can go to get a solution to every problem that you have. But ultimately, what's really fun about this is as we're putting us all together, we're solving even bigger problems, philanthropic problems, and I'll just kind of leave it at that. So I would highly recommend come check us out. You have my number. Feel free to invite me on your show or go check us out at pantheon.fm. And obviously come to Creators Unleashed Live. Cannot wait to see you guys there.
All right, Josh, thank you so much. Way backstage. Let me go ahead and close with the folks here, and I'll be with you. I appreciate your time, man. But you're not off to the horses yet, man. You got to hold back. Hey, family, amazing show. So excited. Thank you so much for sticking with us here. And if there's anything about the conversation today that you appreciated, please go ahead and put it in the comments section. And of course, go ahead, visit the website right now, creatorsunleashed.com. Get your access pass. And this is taking place May 27th to June 1st. It's a 5-day challenge. Every single day, we're coming together and we are learning and we're giving you guys all the strategies that allowed us to be successful. Every single thing we've done, we're giving it to you. We're also opening it up, right, for you guys to ask questions live. So we're giving you guys real-time solution to a real-time problem. And not only that, we're also giving you guys additional resources, but I can talk about that right here. Come to the event and you'll discover what are those resources, because in order to be successful, you need a certain number of tools and you need to really structure your business a certain way so you never have to worry about money or growth ever again within your organization. And if one person can do it, if I can do it, I can tell you right now, you can do it. If Josh can do it, I can tell you right now, you can do it. Showing up simply tells yourself, right, that you are dedicated to overcoming the challenges in your life. If you don't show up to yourself, please don't complain, because this type of events are really usually not that easy to get into, right? Access are limited. We're not going to have a limited number of people. I want to see you there, family. So very, very exciting. And if you have any questions, like he said, you have his cell phone number, go ahead and send him a text message. He's a cool fella. He'll answer you in 2 weeks. I'm just kidding. He'll give you a quick answer back. Until then, you can connect with me everywhere on social media. The handle is at JP Hightek, JPHIGHTK. And I'll see you next week for this specific event, creatorsunleashed.com. Be safe. Peace.